Welcome back, YouTube. It's your host, Bruce GNT, and we are here to talk about what's going on in Baltimore, Maryland. So I came across this video by happenstance because I started doing videos just on different states and everything like that. So I started getting a whole lot of news from different states in my algorithm, and I came across this one, and this is my beginning, my start delving into what's going on in Baltimore, because apparently there's some funky money going on over there, and yeah, we're gonna talk about it. So let's jump right into this video.
We are getting more answers after a Fox 45 investigation found Maryland taxpayers are giving millions of dollars to schools to educate students who are not in class. As Project Baltimore's Chris Papps explains, the more we learn, the more alarming the issue appears to be.
This letter, written by the Maryland Inspector General for Education, Rick Henry, is eye-opening.
It's very alarming.
Henry wrote this letter in response to a Fox 45 investigation that found in 2024, Maryland taxpayers gave public schools an estimated $168 million to educate students who could not be found.
There needs to be some course correction.
Our reporting prompted State Delegate Kathy Schlager to write Henry's office requesting an investigation. This letter is Henry's reply, which contains the number $990 million, the amount the IG says taxpayers could actually have sent schools to educate students who were not in class.
So as it stands right now, we know that schools are receiving money to educate students that aren't there.
Correct.
How do you fix this?
The only way it can be fixed is by the legislature.
Under current state law, most of a school's funding is based on the number of students counted and enrolled on one day, September 30th. But throughout the school year, many students are unenrolled. Documented reasons range from lack of interest to court action. But thousands of students who are funded simply stop showing up and are categorized as whereabouts unknown. And as Project Baltimore first reported last week, it's a number that's drastically increasing.
It's sad because you just want to make sure that student isn't ending up in some type of life of crime. But for some reason, this number keeps increasing.
In his letter, Henry includes this chart, which shows the number of instances where students were labeled whereabouts unknown going back to 2019 and including an estimated number for 2025. The official 2025 state number has not yet been released.
I lied. This is not the first video I came across. There was a video before this, before they started digging, right? And it basically talked about how this isn't the first time that they had, I guess, a question about where these students were. The first instance of trying to bring this to the attention of the education system within Maryland, it was blocked by the teachers union, I believe. And I'm not surprised, because that's how these teachers get more money. I'm not against teachers getting more money, because I think a lot of teachers in certain states and cities are grossly underfunded. Truly. I think they're really struggling out there. But that doesn't excuse the fact that when there was a chance for them to go through and properly count it, or set something up for them to count on what I think a quarterly basis, the teacher said, no, that's a waste of money. We shouldn't do that. Seems kind of fishy to me.
Henry then multiplies the cost per student average for each year by the number of whereabouts unknown designations, and estimates this issue could have cost taxpayers nearly $1 billion over the past 6 years.
That's a lot of money.
Yes, especially now when budgets are tight and school systems are asking for more money. This is funds that are available.
The funding of missing students, Henry says, is correctable if the state legislature is willing to adjust the funding formulas by counting enrollment more often. Fox 45 has been reporting on the funding of missing students since 2021. Bills have been introduced into the legislature to correct the issue by counting enrollment multiple times a year, but lawmakers in Annapolis never passed the bills. Opponents, such as the teachers union, have argued this legislation would increase administrative burdens and complicate reporting requirements to no apparent benefit. But the Maryland State Department of Education already counts student attendance 3 times a year, in September, March, and June, though only the September count is used to determine funding.
The work is already being done to count the kids,
That's correct.
so there's no more additional work involved.
No, because it's already being done.
Opponents of changing how Maryland
So before he finishes out, that seems highly effing suspicious. It's done 3 times a year, but the one time it's done where it's going to lead to higher or lower funding is in September, and yet they keep either messing up the count or having an astronomically larger number of children that are just missing, right? That sounds fishy as hell. I don't know about you, but that shit sounds fishy as hell. I don't like that. We're going to jump into another video a little bit after this, right? Talking about Baltimore has a budget deficit. And yet they're using money haphazardly, because we're going to jump into the mirror as well. And it seems like I'm going to have a habit of just jumping into the ass of these mayors that are out here just spending money, but it's interesting stuff.
funds schools often argue that students are so transient, the funds even out. In other words, throughout the school year, as students move, relocate, or transfer, the amount of funding that a school gains or loses evens out. But the IG says that is not true. The money is not a wash. So how do other states count enrollment to determine funding? That part of the story in the coming days.
That's a really good question, because if Maryland is effing up to this extent, whew, I can only imagine. Only imagine. But let's change gears a little bit. Let's jump into what's going on with the Baltimore mayor, because he, I wouldn't say recently, made a purchase that is perking up a lot of ears.
Last week, Spotlight on Maryland revealed Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott's new SUV cost taxpayers more than $160,000.
Well, tonight we are following up, talking to residents in District 11 after the city councilman who represents that area defended the vehicle's price tag. Spotlight on Maryland's Tessa Bentulin has reaction.
So before they jump too deep into it, these mayors in these cities don't make like hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think at most, I could be wrong, I'm having it on screen, a lot of them make $160,000. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is post-editing Bruce. So I did a little bit of digging, because I was like, you know what? How much do mayors make on average in the U.S.? Like, it kept puzzling me. I kept thinking to myself, okay, I gotta look this up real quick. And I saw what, you know, the average mayor makes, and I put that in the video. And then I started digging a little bit more. I was like, okay, let me see what the Baltimore mayor makes. To my pleasant surprise, and don't take this as gospel, I'm not saying this is 100% true, because I'm seeing a lot of sources corroborating this, but I didn't see a solidified source. Apparently, he's making upwards of $215,000 to $250,000 per year, and it's been something that's been ongoing for the past 4 or 5 years or so, right? And then when I started digging even more, I kind of saw and dug up that not just him, but the people that work under him, his officials, are making just as much, if not more. Even some of them making more than the governor, as you can see right here. So we're going to read through this real quick, and then we're going to jump right back to the video. Data shows many Baltimore officials make more than governor, even Trump's chief of staff. That's just wild. Research shows Baltimore City spent more than $12 million in taxpaying dollars in 2024 to fund salaries for more than 150 employees in Mayor Brandon Scott's office. A handful of these employees earn more than Maryland Governor Wes Moore, the state's highest-ranking elected official, according to data from watchdog nonprofits. That trend continues into 2025. 2 government spending watchdogs, Open the Books and the Taxpayers Protection Alliance, told Spotlight on Maryland that the salaries represent not only concerning pay disparities, but irresponsible fiscal management. Among the highest earners in Scott's office in 2024, several made between $196,000 and $237,000 annually. I don't know what warrants this, especially with a budget deficit of $86 million, but this is just insane. Dana Moore, director for the Office of Equity and Civil Rights, $237,516,000. Anthony Barksdale, deputy mayor for public safety, $233,922. Justin Williams, deputy mayor for community and economic development, $222,840. Simone Johnson, deputy city administrator, $221,326. Matthew Garbark, interim deputy director, DPW, $196,807. Salaries have climbed even higher this year, with several staffers now earning well into the $200,000 range. Calvin Young, now he is his chief of staff, and he's, I believe, a close personal friend of his from, I guess, way back, maybe childhood. $250,000. Marvin James, special advisor to the mayor, $231,750. Faith Leach, chief administrative officer, $275,940. Ebony Thompson, Baltimore City solicitor, $259,920. In comparison, Governor Moore's salary was $188,000 in 2024 and rose to $192,000 in 2025. Mayor Scott himself earned nearly $215,000 in 2024, outpacing the governor. An analysis by the Open Books found that 397 Baltimore City employees earned more than the governor in 2024, due largely to overtime pay, particularly in the city's understaffed police and fire departments. While it's not uncommon for government staffers to out-earn elected officials, 12 members of Moore's own office made more than the governor last year. Investigative journalist Jeremy Portnoy with the Open Book said the amount of top earners in Baltimore stands out. I think it's how long this has been an issue and how high the top salaries have become, he said. One notable example, Mayor Scott's chief of staff, Calvin Young, currently owns $250,000, $55,000 more than Susie Wiles, President Donald Trump's chief of staff, who earns $195,200. The issue is amplified by the city's population decline. Baltimore has lost about 50,000 residents over the past 15 years. Last year was the first time in a decade the population grew, but only by 0.1%. I'm not going to read the rest of this, but this is insane. Like, this is truly insane. The fact that this is going on and no one's talking about it until now, yeah, nah. I'm on their neck now because now I'm seeing that this is some funny business going on. But let's get back to the main video. You're a public servant and you're using money that is the taxpayers to get you a vehicle that is more than what you make in a year.
Councilman Zach Blanchard told us in an email recently that he believes that it's pretty reasonable for the mayor of a large city to have a nicer SUV, even one that costs more than $160,000. So we came here to his district to ask the residents he represents what they think.
I'm not going to keep pausing. Sorry. Baltimore is a big city, but it's not a big city. You know what I'm saying? Like, so him trying to use that as like a, it makes sense. The mayor of a big city, it's not that big in comparison to other cities.
In Federal Hill, Spotlight on Maryland asked about 15 to 20 people whether they think the mayor's new Jeep Grand Wagoneer is a fair use of tax dollars. It's $163,000, including the cost of the car itself and custom security upgrades. The majority of folks did not want to speak on camera, but agreed their mayor needs to be protected. He needs to have a car. But it's the price tag they find frustrating. Here are the answers from the ones who spoke on camera.
$100,000 car? No. Just to drive in? No.
Why is it that he says the streets are safe, but he still needs to up armor and get more protection for his car?
No, I don't think that's an appropriate price. I do think that they probably need to be spending our taxpayer resources a little bit better than that. $165,000. I can't afford that kind of car.
Mayor Brandon Scott recently told Spotlight on Maryland that taxpayers will understand why the Grand Wagoneer is needed to transport him around the city.
I think the residents of Baltimore will understand that the governor of Maryland, the comptroller of Maryland, the county executives, we all have vehicles.
I'm the one that does not understand that.
I feel like there are more things that are more important right now in the city that money needs to be going towards.
Education, infrastructure, and safer streets were the three examples given that more money should be going towards. It's common for big city mayors to have city-issued vehicles with custom security upgrades for protection. But Scott's is more expensive than others we've reviewed. For example, the Boston mayor's vehicle cost between $50,000 to $55,000 before security upgrades. We spoke to two people who were fine with the cost. Only one would speak on camera.
I have a friend who is the PIO for the DC Fire Service. He drives a very similar vehicle, and I could see that as a reasonable amount of money, considering that, a basic Jeep Wagoneer, Grand Wagoneer is $70K?
The price tag raises questions about spending priorities in a city that just closed an $85 million budget deficit with new fees and fines. And
now that budget deficit is small potatoes in comparison to other cities like, Chicago, New York, and you know, San Francisco, everything like that. But even still, every little bit counts. You're using taxpayer money to get you a car, a vehicle that is 3 times more than what the Boston mayor has. Come on now. And not only that as well, the person said themselves, with all that, with the security measures, look, I understand security and safety is important, but you can't keep touting about how safe it is and how, you know, how safe the streets are. And then you're like, oh, but I need all this extra security for what? The streets are safe, right?
Rising cost of living. Some residents say that context matters.
The city in shambles. We're going through too much in the city for him to be worried about a vehicle.
Government watchdog David Williams with the Taxpayers Protection Alliance said there are cheaper options that still meet security needs.
The mayor should be protected. The mayor should be comfortable, but you can achieve that for way less than $160,000.
A Federal Hill resident added on to Williams's comment.
And the people need the money, but the money never gets to the people. It goes to things like this.
We found a new records request asking for the purchase agreements of all city vehicles used by Baltimore city officials so we can compare prices. That request is still pending. In Federal Hill, Tessa Bentulin.
I've talked about this quite a bit. I'm going to try to talk about it even more. All I'm saying is this. If your city, especially if your city is in a budget deficit, the crime is high, and your residents are sitting there talking about, you know, the price of living is going up and everything like that, the last thing you should be doing is spending exorbitant amounts of money. My personal opinion. I could be wrong, but I'm just saying, I think that's insane to me. It's a little bit insane. Well, you guys already know the drill. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment down below, tell me your thoughts. Do you feel like this is an appropriate purchase? Do you feel like this is something that, I don't know, he needs for himself within his city that has just closed an $85 million budget deficit? Let me know down in the comments below. And subscribe to see more. Peace.